Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, throw out the calendar, forget the groundhog. Nintendo decides when it's spring. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you this week, including an end date for Wii U and 3DS online play. And then on Thursday, we're kicking off Mario vs. Donkey Kong month with an overview of the whole series. But Mark, in the meantime, how's it going?
Oh, it's going so good. I am excited for another theme month. I feel like it's been a
Me
while since
too.
we've done one, and Mario
Yes.
vs. Donkey Kong, I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
I think there are going to be a lot of opportunities to do some like serious deep dives into video games, and also like talk about whether bananas are better than coins. Like, I think it's going to be a rich month with like really substantial podcasting and then also nonsense.
Exactly. So everybody get your strongly held feelings about coins versus bananas, because we're going to be coming in hot.
We're going to be diving into that so deep. Blue coins versus blue bananas, which is better? You know, some of them disappear after a little bit, and the others can only be collected by Lanky. Is that right?
Oh, man. Something to look forward to.
Talk
about Lanky. We don't do that enough on this show.
We don't talk about, and also, like, what is the Mario equivalent of Lanky Kong?
I'm scared to find out, but excited.
Yes. We'll just pose that question to the listeners right now. They can get back to us with your answer. Mark, we I'm just going to be plugging the Patreon right here up at the top, patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where if you are supporting us at the 8-bit or 16-bit levels, you get access to our once-a-month episodes of miniseries. We just put out our first episode of NCS Arcade.
And it's a good one. We're talking about The Legend of Zelda, The Minish Cap. In NCS Arcade, we're going to be playing games that neither of us have ever beaten before that are available on Nintendo Switch Online and Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack. And I've got to say, I feel a burden has been lifted off of me now that I have completed Minish Cap, and it was great to talk to you about it. It's a really good episode.
Right. We filled in like some gaps in our Nintendo knowledge, right? And then had a great conversation about like a fairly interesting entry in one of the most important series to Nintendo. It's a good listen. I'd say check it out if you have any interest in that. And then if you would like to chat more about it, you can go to our Discord by getting an invitation from me. All you got to do is email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And we will send you an email. You click on a little link, and then bam, you're in the Discord. You can talk about Minish Cap with everybody else or whatever else is going on. It's a good time in that Discord. And then also one last plug before we get into the show proper here. I'm writing a book on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's actually a series of books, a series of source books, the first of which comes out on February 21st. Mark, that's just a couple weeks away now.
Ooh, February is going to be a banger month. We got Mario versus Donkey Kong month. We got your book, your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book coming out. It's going to be very good.
And it's just issued. We got that Sora amiibo is also coming out. But so if you are interested in my writing about the IDW Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles continuity, pre-order a copy of issue number 1. Comes out in February. Issue number 2 comes out in April. And then issues 3 and 4 will be out later in the year. And I'm sure I will talk about them then. All right, Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week. So truly, most of what I spent my time playing this week was The Legend of Zelda, the Minish Cap. But you and I have talked at length about that, and the episode is available for anyone subscribing at the 8-bit or 16-bit levels. So let's talk about what else we've been playing.
Yeah, I have continued to make progress in another code, Recollection.
Yeah.
And so I beat the like first part of the game, and once you beat the first part of the game, it rolls right into the sequel. And I feel like,
So interesting
yeah,
to
it
be
is.
structured that way.
Well, especially because the games, I mean, I'm not that far into the second part, but the second part is significantly better than the first. Like
Ah.
almost like immediately the writing is better, the world is more open, has a lot of like in the short amount of time that I've played, you begin to meet like interesting, fun characters. The gameplay doesn't seem that different. It is funny to see, the first entry was on the DS. And so, you have this device that in the original game was a Nintendo DS lookalike. In this one, it's a Nintendo Switch lookalike. On the Wii version, or the second game that never released in the United States, that the second half of Recollection is like a remake of. There's, at least in this game, you get like a glove that lets you like manipulate things that I think is supposed to be kind of like an analog for
Yeah,
a
sure.
like a
For a
Wiimote.
Wii remote, yeah.
But yeah, I'm
Or for the
enjoying it.
power glove.
Or
Maybe
for
it's
it kind of looks like a power glove a little bit. But yeah, like the first half of it I enjoyed. I thought the writing was not very good, but I liked the puzzle elements and all of that and I thought the story turned out to be fairly interesting. The second one, it is just like elevated in basically all
yeah.
aspects. But one thing, last week I was talking about the like, is it worth the $60? And I still hold that yes, it is to a very specific audience. But one thing but we were also talking about how weird it is that this game, that like this collection exists at all.
Yes.
But two things struck me this week that I didn't talk about when like last week because I hadn't thought about it yet. One is that the Switch's audience, like there are so many Switches out there right now.
Yeah.
So like Nintendo can take a chance on something like this, and even if it sells to 1% of Switch users, it's still a ton
It's still a
of
million seller,
it's
yeah.
still a million seller. And then the second thing is like, um I didn't really give it much thought, but it's very rare that you have a game who the main protagonist of both games is a 14 and then 16-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And like the game isn't about her being a girl, or you know what I mean? It's just like that
Yeah,
is
totally.
the protagonist of the series. And that just something you don't see often in video games at all.
I would say that like another thing that these games, or at least the first one, does that you don't see much in games is that your best friend is a ghost who can't remember their life.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's I would say uncommon. You have that plus it's a 14-year-old girl, and this is a pretty unique video game for sure.
Yeah, it's I am really I am struggling with another code, and I know I need to just like plow through a like lengthier piece of it before I can like really start to be invested. But like when I play, it's usually when I can get to it, so it's like nighttime. And I play for like 20-25 minutes, and Mark, I start to get sleepy.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't know that you do need to invest a lot of time in it. Like like maybe it's just not for you, and I don't mean that like flippantly. I mean that in the way that
Yeah.
I think this game is not for everybody. Especially the first part is really crusty in a lot of areas, and so it may just not be a good fit. I would not recommend this to everybody.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. I do still want to make like an honest attempt to get at least deeper into the game. I would like to experience at least the beginning of the second game. It's weird that they don't let you just choose that.
It kind of makes, or I thought the same thing, but it like I think it would be kind of weird to I guess maybe not. I don't know how it differs from the Wii game, but this one is definitely like you literally roll right into the second half
Oh,
of the game, and so having the context of the first game would be helpful, but I guess like not having that context wouldn't be the end of the world. They pretty much spell it out for you in the opening cutscene. Ashley, the main character, gives you a
right.
quick recap of the important stuff you needed to know.
I mean, I always think about like, I'm always of the opinion that like if you want to watch a new thing that's in a series or play a new thing that's in a series, like you're smart. They're gonna try to onboard you. Like you're probably fine to skip the original stuff if what you really want is to like participate in the new thing. But I always think about my friend Hannah. Her brother went to see the Lord of the Rings The Two Towers without having seen the first movie or knowing anything about Lord of the Rings. And I feel like that was probably a mistake.
The beginning of that movie is funny to me because they like kind of nod to trying to do that. Like they're swooping over the mountains and you hear a bunch of voices being like, "No," and "You shall not
Yeah.
pass."
But then it like just throws you into this Balrog versus Gandalf fight where it's like, oh, okay. I guess I just gotta like figure out what's going on here.
That's really funny.
But so I mean like I am truly like an hour into the first game. How long do you think it took you to get through the first half?
Oh man, I want to say maybe like 6 hours, 7 hours, something like that.
All right. And you're trying to release me of the responsibility of playing this, but I'm not letting myself be released.
Hey, I've done my part.
Are you excited to embark on the second half of the game?
I am, yeah. I'm excited to see it through. I liked the first part, and the second part, even in just the maybe hour that I've played, feels like a big improvement. So I think I'll enjoy it too. And I don't think it's going to be very long. So that's like the other piece of it.
All right. Well, that's what we have been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
Probably not that much on this list.
There's not much here in truth. No.
Wednesday, January 31st, Eastward Octopia DLC is released.
Yeah, and we saw the Octopia DLC in like a Indie World Showcase, I think, or maybe it was a Nintendo Direct. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But Eastward was that sort of it's like a post-apocalyptic setting, kind of a Secret of Mana like that I messed around with for a little bit, and it seemed cool, but I couldn't really get super far into it. And the Octopia DLC is almost like farming simulator stuff. So like Eastward comes to Stardew Valley, which hey, that's a cool pairing of stuff.
Yeah, I never really checked out Eastward, but I remember your like early impressions of it. I feel like the other notable thing maybe is that there is a big sale going on in the US eShop, the Jumpstart January sale, where a bunch of first party and I think also third party Nintendo games are at a pretty good discount. Some indie games in there. There in the Discord there was talk of like Disney Illusion Island, which Patrick, you and I were interested in, but neither of us picked up, is currently $27.99 versus $40 the regular price. Always a good time to buy Captain Toad Treasure Tracker.
Yes. But it's especially when it's a little bit cheaper, which it is right now.
Yeah, it's $27.99 by itself, and if you get like the bundle with special episode, it's $32.18. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, love that game, $39.99. There's also
sorry, I just wanted to speak to the special episode of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Unless you are a treasure tracker completionist, I don't think it's necessary.
Good to know. That's the one that when they like. What did they? It's just like a small chapter that they added.
It's really
when they released
small.
On Switch?
Yeah, it's really really short. And I think I you can play the New Donk City levels without it. So like the fun, like the new stuff that they added from the Wii U is already in there. So you don't need the special episode to access like what's genuinely special about the re-release.
I was torn. So I was looking at this list and I was about to pick up, this was earlier in the week, on Disney Illusion Island. And then
I did pick up Disney Illusion Island.
Well, I saw that It Takes Two was on sale as well, and I've heard really good things about that. And so I decided to pick up It Takes Two. But Patrick, maybe we're just unconsciously prepping ourselves for that co-op month that we've been threatening for so long.
That's right, which won't happen in February because February is Mario versus Donkey Kong month.
That's right.
But could still happen.
at any time.
I don't know if it's technically part of the Jumpstart January sale, but Part-Time UFO was also on sale, which, the game is normally like $7 or $8, so I got it for like $5.49 or something. But Part-Time UFO is a cool game that's it's a HAL game, right?
Yep.
That was originally on mobile and is you play like a UFO with like a crane game sort of mechanic, and you are just like doing little tasks around the world in these like discrete little challenges. And the game was super fun on iPhone, and I played it a lot there. And I know that there's a bunch of new like puzzles and content and stuff, costumes, what have you, in the Switch version. And so I always wanted to pick it up. And then with the announcement of this sale, like I had it wish listed, and so I was notified, and I picked it up.
Nice.
Was there anything else on the list that you wanted to shout out? You mentioned Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
Oh yeah, I mean there's a lot on sale right now, so definitely worth perusing if you're in the mood for something new.
There was a moment where I was like, and maybe I'll save this. I'll save this for the news because we're talking about Splatoon there. But Splatoon 3 is also part of that sale if you are interested in jumping in now as we're getting to the release of the DLC. All right, those are the new releases. Let's close that out. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It is time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, where a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So for the duration of one performance, 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, what are we talking about today?
Today we are going to be ranking the beverages.
The beverages,
yes.
Which feels like a very broad category.
Because it is.
Okay, where are we? We're using something for guidance here, yes?
Yeah, so on eatthisnotthat.com, there's an article from, let's see, September 2020, so cast your mind back.
Oh boy.
And they are using a
cyanide.
They are using a Statista report where people in America ranked their favorite beverages. So we have 12 favorite beverages, and I think we're going to compare where America had it in 2020 and where we personally would rank it, higher or lower.
I like that you specified people in America and not necessarily Americans, but just people who were in America at the time the survey was conducted.
Yeah, or using a VPN to stream Netflix from Canada or something,
Yeah, it's smart.
Okay, so number 12. 12 out of 12 is alcoholic spirits. At 1%, at consumption share is 1%. Now, here's what I don't know. Is consumption share the like share of beverages that one person drank, or is it must be, because I feel like more than 1% of
all liquids consumed
in America
by people in America
by people in America, including tourists, would be spirits. Doesn't that seem low?
Well, I mean, does spirits just mean like liquor, or does it mean alcohol of any kind?
Well, beer is and cider is its own category.
Okay, all
so
right.
It seems to be hard liquor.
Hard liquor. So we're also saying not wine. I would say if we combine like wine, beer, cider, spirits, then we start to get higher than 1%. 1% actually kind of seems high when you think about it.
Oh, I see what you're saying, because maybe a lot of people drink wine, maybe a lot of people drink beer, but not that many people are necessarily mixing up.
And also just by volume, when you have a cocktail, what is that, like maybe a quarter booze? Maybe probably less.
Right. So this brings me to my original question. This list must be like everybody has a pie chart, and it's like how much did you drink this thing? And spirits is like a very small part of it, which is good. Yeah. This is good news.
This is good news. Yeah. No, I think it is appropriately ranked at number 12. We have to move on to the next one because we spent so much time. talking about spirits.
Number 11 is value-added water, which to me is a very funny way of saying like vitamin water, or
Sure.
what's another example of
I mean,
um
does Gatorade fall into this category?
maybe it no, it doesn't. Sports drinks is
Okay.
its own thing.
Okay, but still like some sort of vitamin water. My biggest impression of like from vitamin water is that they sponsored all of season 2 of Gossip Girl, so there was vitamin water everywhere on that show.
The consumption share is 1.3%. So people are like basically drinking it the same as much as spirits. Is that true in your own life, Patrick?
No, I don't drink vitamin water really at all. So smart water I'll drink, but I kind of just am like drinking that as though it's water because it is.
Okay, and next is energy drinks at number 10. Another 1.3% consumption share. This one would be low for me. I don't think I ever drink energy drinks.
Yeah, me neither.
All right, number 9 is wine at 1.6%. I feel like
Okay.
water's going to do well. Feels like we're teeing up to water doing well.
Water's gonna do really well.
Yeah. Okay, so number 8 is sports drinks, and this is 2.8%. And this makes sense to me because a lot of people play sports, and so they're like, I want a sports
That's true.
drink.
That's true. Me, I drink wine. Wine for me goes above sports drink.
It's true. You play, like a pickup game of basketball, and then you are bringing out the wine.
Oh yeah, no. Well, I'm bringing out like a box of wine because they don't allow glass on the court.
So, sports drinks number 8, 2.8%. I kind of lost track of what we were doing, but fun to talk about beverages nonetheless.
It is fun. It is in fact fun to talk about beverages. Let's put a pin in this one. I feel like we should come back and finish the list next week.
That sounds good.
All right. We were accompanied today by a timer on my phone that I think I stopped successfully, but we may hear it again in another 4 minutes. Mark, let's get into the news.
All right. Switch 2 rumors are beginning to come from every corner.
Yeah.
And this is exciting. So the latest one is from industry analyst Hiroshi Hayashi. And in a new report through Omdia, which I think is like, there are a lot of these firms that they track suppliers of components. So like, you have people reporting on the new iPhone because this company is beginning to, ramp up production of a certain product. And it seems like that's where this is coming from as well. But Hayashi suggests that the next Switch will sport an 8-inch LCD screen and that the hardware will launch this year. He cites info from Sharp that they are providing the screens to a manufacturer that has assembled systems for Nintendo in the past. So a lot of assumptions, no confirmation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, assumptions and assertions of fact. Sharp is providing 8-inch LCD screens to a manufacturer that has made Nintendo systems. That is fact. But everything else is sort of conclusions drawn from that fact.
But assuming this is true, an 8-inch LCD screen, like the base Switch is 6.2 inches, the Switch OLED is 7 inches. So this is a,
it's a chonky system, yeah.
A chonky system, yes.
8-inch is the size of the PlayStation Portal. So if you would like to see the PlayStation Portal in your own hand to get a gauge on how big the new Nintendo Switch might be, we can arrange that. I wonder because the PlayStation Portal is big, but it's also very light because there are no guts in the thing, right? Like it's just the screen, the ability to stream to it, and halves of a DualSense controller on either side. But like, and I suppose there's a battery in there too. But like it can't do any processing on its own. And the Switch is probably going to need to do that, unless we're seeing. I mean, I don't know. There are other explanations for what this 8-inch screen could be for. But I don't know. What conclusions are you drawing from all of this?
I mean, I feel like it kind of makes sense in the same way that phone screens have just consistently gotten larger. It makes
Yeah.
sense to me that the next Switch would also be larger. And in doing that, it probably gives them flexibility in additional components, whether that's for some feature we don't, like that'll surprise us, or even just like a larger battery. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm not really surprised. I'm also not really surprised that it's an LCD screen and that we're not seeing them do like an OLED screen. Like I feel this all just gives them a ton of flexibility for an OLED version of this in the future, or a smaller, like Switch 2 Lite, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah, and that is a really good point. I wonder how it is so weird because like I've I love my Switch OLED. I think playing games on it in handheld mode is really like sharp and clean. And I do feel like I'm going to miss that in up like actually upgrading to the new console with an inferior but bigger screen. I just I don't know. I'm already sort of dreading like the transition, not feeling special, but feeling like a dulling of the Switch experience.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what like the resolution is. Because you definitely don't want it to be like a 3DS XL experience where it was nice to have
Right.
the larger screen, but the image quality kind of suffered because the pixels just got bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I guess it does feel like, and we've been saying this for a few months, but it does feel like Switch 2 stuff is really heating up.
It definitely feels like things are heating up. We are probably just a week or two away from there being a new Nintendo Direct. Sony just announced that they're doing a state of play this week on Wednesday. And I sort of expect Nintendo to not take their cue from that, but like it tis the season, right? And that will likely get more Nintendo news. I still don't expect to hear anything about the new Switch at like whatever Nintendo Direct comes up here in February. Do you?
No, I don't. And I think it'll be interesting to see how they choose to release information about it whenever it happens. With the Switch, we got a teaser video, and then a couple months later, we got like a live presentation. And
Right.
that's kind of like Nintendo was deep into the Nintendo Direct era, and they still decided to do it live. I wonder if they will feel the need to do that for the Switch 2.
Yeah, I mean, like it's good for building hype, but also kind of bad for, well, not bad, but just sort of like unnecessary. Like you don't need to demonstrate what's new about the Switch 2, really, right? Like,
Unless you do, and there's something
yeah,
crazy that we don't know. I don't know. Some of it also felt like, I mean, yes, was it great to see Koizumi, casually holding two Joy-Con as he lounged on a couch? But
an image which will live in my mind forever. There's that. There's the Splatoon guy in like the coat, like making the number 2 out of his body. And then is it Suda
yeah,
51 who's in there? Like just being a grand old weirdo, and the translator not being able to keep up with him.
yeah. I mean, look, for selfish reasons, I definitely want it to be live again, for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
But I also, coming out of the Wii U, and they were announcing this big thing, like I think
Right.
the pressure is a different kind of pressure on them this time versus like the Wii U to Switch transition felt like they had to bring the goods.
Do you think that we are living in any kind of world where what we're gearing up to get now is truly just like a Switch XL? Like that it's not actually like it can be a little bit more powerful, just have like a little more RAM in it or something, have a bigger screen, but like genuinely be the same system.
That would be kind of funny if that turned out to be true. Like it was an OLED versus Switch Pro all over again.
Yeah.
But I really don't think it's likely, just because the Switch has been out for a long time and sales are beginning to fall off.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know that uh a just kind of like refresh. I mean, maybe, yeah, sure, maybe you get that as, I don't know, a way for Nintendo to kind of goose sales when the Switch 2 comes out, and so they like retire the other versions and now they just have this 8-inch Switch. But to me, it feels more likely that it's we're getting set up for a true successor.
Yeah, I mean that's the most likely scenario, but like I don't know, betting on Nintendo fulfilling the most likely scenario is never smart.
Yep.
So like, I don't know. I'm still waiting for the day that they're like, yep. And so what we're doing is we're announcing this sort of like legacy Switch with the bigger screen. It's the Switch XL, and our dumb new thing, which is where we're doing pillars again.
Yeah.
And now you'll want to play everything on a game sphere, and it's a ball that rolls around on your table, and the whole thing is a screen, and U2 plays inside it every night. I just like, let's all hold on to our butts here as we go into a new year of Nintendo hardware.
Always a good plan, for sure. Nintendo is ending online play for the Wii U and 3DS on April 8th at 4 p.m. Pacific time.
Ooh, date and time.
Yeah, back in October, they had warned us that this was coming, but now we know the official date and time. I mean, some games are already ending earlier. Steel Diver Sub Wars on the 3DS is already offline. But really, like, what they're saying is it never came back online. There was emergency maintenance that brought it down last September.
Oh, right.
And now they're just like, sorry, Sub Wars is not. The online's not coming back for the next couple months.
So let me ask you this. We can still play The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes until April 8th?
Online, yes. Locally, I can't imagine. I don't think there's any reason why we couldn't continue to play locally forever and ever and all time.
Until we die. But so we can play it online now for a couple more months.
I believe that's true. Yeah.
Cool.
Also, Pokemon Bank and Poke Transporter are safe for now. They said someday you should expect it to go offline, but those will not go offline when the Wii U and 3DS online due in April.
I love that Pokemon is big enough that they're like, here are some policy decisions, and of course it doesn't apply to Pokemon.
Yeah, because we're not crazy.
Right, yes.
Splatoon 3 Side Order DLC has a release date of February 22nd. Nintendo juking us out a little bit, because last we heard it was planned for spring 2024, so I would consider this a little early.
I would also consider this early. It is not spring until March, right? Like, technically speaking.
I think that's true. Yeah.
So this is a little early. I'm glad that they like have it in a place where they feel comfortable putting it out on this schedule. Mark, I have to ask you. We talked about it a little bit in the Discord, but does this fall under the list of things that I need to buy because it is a product Nintendo is putting out this year?
Interesting. Because like the DLC was technically released, like the ability to purchase it was technically available last year, but just the fact that Side Order's coming out not by itself, like you can't buy Side Order by itself, you have to buy the DLC pack. Does it count?
Because it's not that I have to buy everything that Nintendo first made available for purchase this year, but things they put out this year, which makes me think that yes, I do need to buy Side Order.
Yeah. Well, putting on my lawyer hat for a second, which I am legally not allowed to do anymore.
Right. You've been disbarred from hat wearing in California.
Right. That's right. I think, ultimately, whatever you decide, I will support you 100%. I just want you to know that.
You're a coward.
but the second thing is that, yeah, I do think you have to buy it.
Okay, good. That's what I think as well, and I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I'll do it. I guess it doesn't really matter when I do it, but I just have to do it.
That's right. No, that's actually a really good point. So if you need to like get a spreadsheet out and budget this over a year, like it may not be a terrible idea if 2024 is as crazy as we think it's going to be. Here's a question for you, and again, I support your decision no matter what it is. But what if like when they release new merch on the Nintendo store online, like they're like, hey, here's a new hoodie of...
No, I don't need to do that.
Okay.
It needs to be like game hardware or software, I guess, is what it boils down to. And for the purposes of this, Amiibo count as hardware.
Yeah. Cool.
Also, I just wanted to loop back around to you, maybe teasing me by saying I needed a budget spreadsheet. If you think I don't have a spreadsheet for Nintendo products that are coming out in 2024, you are dead wrong. It lists my status of owning them, pre-ordering them, where I have the pre-order, how much I spent on it, and so on. And I just need to add side order DLC to that spreadsheet.
Yeah, I love that. And this is just another example of why I have been disbarred from wearing my lawyer hat in California.
Yeah, they don't let you make fun of Excel spreadsheets. They just don't.
Egg on my face, for sure. Square Enix. Oh, so this is old, but I wanted to talk about it. I thought it was interesting. So Square Enix had like released their financial results like last November or something, and during that time they had a Q&A, but it didn't start circulating in English until this month. And even at this point, I'm like 2 weeks late to it. But in it they talk about three things. So strengthening internal dev resources. They talk about how there are they outsource a lot of it to third parties and the need to develop more in-house. Two, improving their marketing. And three, less titles but higher quality. And kind of like drilling down into that third one, one of the people on the call asks, why have you been unable to slim down your lineup until now? And I think it's the CEO, I'm sorry, I didn't write this part down, but like responds, as our customers' needs and the types of devices available have diversified, we have tried to produce hits by developing a wide variety of titles rather than by focusing only on certain ones. I believe that this has resulted in the splintering of our resource pool. Meanwhile, there have been clear winners and losers among the major titles released recently in the gaming market, and it has become possible for even indie titles to make their presence felt. The market is increasingly polarized between blockbuster and indie titles, but I feel that we have developed many titles that fell somewhere in the middle. I want to make clear distinctions going forward.
Yeah, well that is interesting, and like totally a space that Square Enix does occupy in a way that not many developers do, where it's like they will make the highest quality of like AAA games, like that's what Final Fantasy 16 is, and then they do make these sort of like indie plus caliber games, or like how do you classify like Octopath Traveler 2, right? Like it's somewhere between a AAA game and an indie game.
Right. And, like last year, I feel like by the end we were kind of joking, oh, and here's Square Enix's 96th title for the Switch.
Right.
And, because they had a lot of just like mid-tier, like double A titles that were just kind of like surprises. It'd be like, oh, I didn't even know this existed until, somebody posted about and so my initial response to this was worry, because to me it sounded like the strategy that a lot of Hollywood studios have right now, where it's like, well, we're just going to make a couple of things and they have to be billion-dollar movies, because if they're not, we're screwed. Like we don't make anything that if it makes like 100 million, we're fine. Everything has to be the biggest movie in the world. And I worry about Square Enix getting into that space. But at the same time, I think they're right that what choice do they have? Like some of those mid-tier titles that we were talking about, like you're right, Patrick. It's like, what is the difference between this and a more polished indie title?
Right. Yeah. But like that is honestly the space that I don't want Square Enix to give up. Like that level of game that Octopath Traveler, that Bravely Default to, even like the Theatrhythm Final Fantasy, or like a lot of that stuff is like very like interesting, and I like seeing the Square Enix level of polish on something like that. That like I don't want them to give it up,
Yeah. I mean, I do wonder if that's the like if Octopath Traveler 2 is the like caliber of games they're talking about. I'm trying to look up some of the titles of games that were released
what do they mean? Yeah.
Last year, right? Because there was like, I mean, one I liked, Paranormasight, The Seven Mysteries of Hanjo, which was like that point and click adventure game. But then there were a bunch that it was like I don't know. I am like having difficulty finding the titles, but I just feel like Harvestella, is an example of one.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Where, like, is that the caliber of game that they're talking about? Because I can see how that would be a problem for them if they're putting out, or like those what were they called? Like King of Cards? Like an interesting idea, but did they sell anything? Like,
but like that King of like the King of Cards games, that feels more like them in their sort of indie bag, right? Like that's on like the much lower scale. What's weird is like they also had like the AAA flops as well. Like Forspoken was a big stinker for them. So like yeah, it's just weird to it's a weird game that they have to predict of like something that they spend a ton of money on having to sell super well. It seems impossible.
Yeah, it really does feel like a damned if you do, damned if you don't, because I understand the strategy of less games, more focus, higher
Yeah.
quality. But then uh if one of those, games misses, and then it seems like you're really in a world of hurt. But of course, if you're spending all these resources to make these double A games that don't sell anything, I don't know that you're any better off.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's I was just looking up the box office for the new Indiana Jones movie, Dial of Destiny, and it made its gross was $384 million, which like could be a decent size hit, but like the budget for that was like $200,000 or something like that, and then with marketing on top of it means they lost money on Dial of Destiny. So like yeah, those big swings, even though like you pump a lot of money to it and you're like money makes it good, it doesn't always mean that you get a return on that.
I also think, to my mind, they again, I understand why they're like, we should target the PlayStation 5. The PlayStation 4 was an enormous
Hmm.
success. Like we want to make games for an audience that is like worldwide. So let's focus. But um I don't know, the Nintendo Switch sold a ton of like a
Yeah.
like, and so I don't know. I really do think they're in a tough spot. I think we talk about like Nintendo's ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys, and Square Enix goes through a lot of the same thing. They really struggled at the beginning of the PlayStation 3 era. They got their stuff together, and now it feels like they're in another era of not having a lot of direction.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I wonder, like, what where that perspective sort of comes from too, because like, um, when Crystal Dynamics put out the Avengers game a couple years ago, and Eidos Montreal put out the Guardians of the Galaxy games, those were under Square Enix ownership and leadership, and those are both like big AAA games that I mean, I guess I don't really have a sense of like how financially successful they were, other than that, like I know Guardians like underperformed and Avengers underperformed on like a critical level. I'm not really sure on a commercial level. But yeah, I mean, it almost seems like the lesson for Square Enix should be like do more small stuff.
I know, yeah. It just feels like it feels like a tough spot to be in.
Yeah.
It really does. It really does. Like they're being squeezed on both sides.
Yeah, and it's also like they will never stop having huge games to put out. Like there's always going to be a Final Fantasy 16. There's always going to be another chapter in the Final Fantasy 7 remake saga. There's always going to be another Kingdom Hearts. Like they've got those big levers to pull for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, they do talk about the strength of their like intellectual properties. I wonder what the lessons from Final Fantasy 16 are going to be. I don't
Hmm.
know, again, just like with Avengers, I feel like it well, maybe even better than Avengers. Like critically, Final Fantasy 16 seemed to do okay,
Yeah,
and I know people who played it and really liked it, but it didn't really seem to make any impact culturally. And
yeah, it's weird because I feel like it. I mean, whatever. Last year was a tough year for video games to come out in, right? Like there were just so many huge, great ones. Um, but I think it suffered from being a PlayStation 5 exclusive. Like if it were also on Xbox, I think it would have been open to a lot. An audience that it wasn't available to otherwise. And who knows how long these things are actually exclusive. But like the Final Fantasy VII remake games are exclusive to PlayStation and still are. So yeah, I don't know. It would be my hope for Square Enix to get that off of just PlayStation.
yeah, I guess what I feel like is Square Enix is they are in this kind of hard spot to be in where they're trying to make games that they think people want.
Yeah,
You're right, like Final Fantasy 16, we don't know what Dragon Quest 12 is going to be, but it certainly um has been talked about of the air of like, we're going a little darker,
kind of Game of Thronesy.
exactly, to like broaden the appeal, and I just don't feel like it really worked out for Final Fantasy 16. So
Yeah, I think that's accurate. It's nope. Thought I had some, thought I had something. I do not.
well, if it comes to you, definitely interrupt me.
You got it.
Next month, Nintendo is publishing 2 concerts originally planned for Nintendo Live Tokyo. The Legend of Zelda Orchestra concert will go live on YouTube on February 9th at 5 a.m. Pacific time, and then Splatoon 3 Deep Cut will be posted the next day on February 10th. These were originally planned for Nintendo Live in Japan. That was supposed to happen around this time, but in December, Nintendo canceled it, citing threats against employees and participants.
Weird.
Yeah, disappointing. And
Yeah.
then the 2024 World Championships for many Nintendo games like Splatoon 3, Smash Ultimate, and Mario Kart were delayed as well.
So ultimately, like a bad thing to have to do, but kind of neat that we get access to these concerts. They're not streaming them; they're just like posting them, so you can.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
appears to be the case. My guess is like they had months ago booked these orchestras, and these bands, and so they're like, well, no reason not to just like go through with it and then post these online.
Well, I mean, except for that, like the difference when you are hiring an orchestra or a band to do a live performance versus a live performance that you're streaming and or like publishing in perpetuity for people to access whenever. And maybe it's a little bit different with musicians unions in Japan, but like in the United States, that's a big deal. And like compensation changes like dramatically based on what you're doing with the concert.
Yeah, if it's like other Nintendo concerts that they publish online, they do pull them down after a certain amount of time.
Got it. Yeah.
Like the Kirby 30th anniversary one, that was up for a limited amount of time, and then they take them down. So I expect that'll be the same for this.
Okay.
But all those concerts are fun and cool, and so I definitely recommend checking them out when they start streaming.
And there's no chance we're going to get a holographic DJ KK in one of these things.
I would say that it's possible. Never,
All right.
never count out KK Slider. Last week, Nintendo released a new trailer for Princess Peach Showtime, showing off 2 new transformations in the game: the ninja transformation and the cowgirl transformation.
Yeah, and let me tell you, people could not keep their cool about the phrase "cowgirl Peach."
Yes, yes, that is true. Also, and this is probably a bad look for me, but I was like, wasn't there already a ninja one? Wasn't that part of the original announcement? But it is not. There was a Kung Fu Peach in the original announcement, but this is a ninja Peach, much more stealthy, I think.
Yeah, and ninja implies some like less scrupulous, right? That she's like sneaking around, assassinating people. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I liked seeing both these transformations. I still am kind of like, what is this game moment to moment? When do I transform? Do I transform at my will, or is it just like this level you are the cowgirl, and you're going to use the lasso? And does she have guns?
That's a good question. I would guess no. I would guess they're not going to give Princess Peach guns yet. They have to save something for the sequel.
Yeah, that what a great point. The hat that Cowgirl Peach wears, it's a big cowboy hat, and it's got horns on it.
It's very fun.
It's very fun.
This game looks really fun. I kind of share your same confusion over what this game is and how it plays, because there are so many transformations. Is each one just going to feel kind of like a shallow, short experience?
Right.
But it also feels like we will probably not have to wait that much longer to get a full blowout on what this is.
Yeah.
Also, so that game releases on March 22nd, but Nintendo is also releasing some new Joy-Con on March 22nd, a pastel pink Joy-Con that they're saying is going to be available for a limited time.
And this is, both Joy-Con are the same color. They're this pastel pink. This color of left Joy-Con, I believe, was previously sold with the pastel yellow as the right Joy-Con, and it is amazing how much it's the exact same color. Like you can compare them; they're the same color. But it is amazing how much more attractive it is with another pink Joy-Con instead of with a pastel yellow.
Yeah, and when you and I were talking about how this seems like I'm glad they're releasing these. Actually, I guess I'm indifferent to them releasing these, but it seems like a good opportunity for like a special edition Switch.
100%. Yeah, it's I mean, when we were talking about when we did our ABCs of Nintendo DS, we talked a lot about how those like three initial colors for the DS Lite, the white, the black, and the pink, are so like instrumental to your ability to like pick it up and like opt into an aesthetic. And it's just crazy that there hasn't been I guess there's like the coral pink DS Lite, but to not have like regular Joy-Cons in like a pink kind of color, it feels like they were just missing a market for a little bit.
Yeah. But I am happy to know that this is on your spreadsheet, though.
It's on my spreadsheet. I have pre-ordered them. I was stressed out about it for a little bit, but I got them.
Excellent. Speaking of special Joy-Con, Yacht Club Games has teamed up with Captain Alex to make 2 pairs of officially licensed Shovel Knight Joy-Con. One set is Shovel Knight and King Knight themed, and the other set is Plague Knight and Spectre Knight themed. Each set is $165, and they're only taking pre-orders for 1,000 of each set.
So not a lot of them, asking a lot of money for them. And Mark, am I crazy, or are these not that good looking? I find the colors to be a little repulsive, I guess.
Oh yeah, I kind of like the. Do you know they remind me of like I have Joy-Con in these colors, I think, or very similar colors, like the green and pink ones I got for like they were like the Splatoon 2 themed ones, I believe.
Oh yeah, sure.
And then these blue and yellow were just another pair that I picked up when my Splatoon ones started getting started drifting. But I can't tell if like these are a little more muted, and so I can't tell if these are different or it's just the lighting or what the deal is, but they look like very similar colors.
Yeah, I wonder. Like, I was trying to drill down into Captain Alex and actually like what the deal with that company is. So like I can't tell if these are just Joy-Con that they like printed because there's also, in addition to them being like these colors, there's sort of like graphics that represent the knights themselves, and I think those line drawings are really cool. And so I can't really tell if it's just that like sort of printed over existing Joy-Con or what this is exactly.
Yeah, the fact that it's officially licensed. Oh wait. Officially licensed from Yacht Club Games.
I think from Yacht Club. Yeah, exactly.
I see. So the characters are licensed from Yacht Club, not like officially licensed. They weren't like, "Hey Nintendo, sell us 2,000 pair of Joy-Con and allow us to like do this thing."
I mean, that may also be true, but for the purposes of my buy everything from Nintendo this year, I am not counting these Joy-Con because these feel like Yacht Club / Captain Alex products and not Nintendo products.
I agree with that, but this is not legal advice.
Well, and take off that hat, sir.
Sorry, I put it back on. I think between segments.
Yeah, you did.
I don't, because I think I took it off at some point.
Yeah, you weren't wearing it the whole time.
Okay. It just feels so comfortable, so natural. It's hard to take it off. Last episode, we talked about Pal World, the kind of like it's like it's more like a survival game that has some Pokemon aesthetics, and weather. And it sold like 8 million copies at last count. It's probably much more than that at this point. And the question was whether we would see the Pokemon Company take any action against them for their so close to being Pokemon, but yet not quite character design. And the Pokemon Company was clearly tired of getting asked about it because they released a statement saying, quote, "We have received many inquiries regarding another company's game released in January 2024. We have not granted any permission for the use of Pokemon intellectual property or assets in that game. We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to the Pokemon. We will continue to cherish," this is my favorite part of the whole thing. We will continue to cherish and nurture each and every Pokemon and its world and work to bring the world together through Pokemon in the future.
Yeah, really going wide at the end of that statement, right? I mean, this is sort of predictable. I guess the part of it that's like that makes me like kind of roll my eyes on behalf of humanity is the opening. "We have received many inquiries regarding another company's game," where it's just like, why guys, why are you bugging the Pokemon company? They know.
Yeah.
They know it's out there.
I also know that they can't, I'm sure, refer to it by name. So it just has to be another
Right.
company's game released in January 2024.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and like ultimately, like even if they are infringing on like the designs of those characters, um, fair use is pretty tricky. And if the game has any sort of like satirical bent to it, which I think you can almost sort of inherently say that it does because it gives the characters guns, like cute little Pokemon-esque characters. You give them guns, like that's funny. There's like a hook there. So like I think it would be tough unless it's like I just think it would be tough to prosecute this.
I think you're right. I think they would have to show market confusion, right? Like
Yeah, yes.
because I think that's what they would have to prove is that people confuse this as a Pokemon product because it features this infringing character in a video game, and so people
Right.
assume that it's coming from us when it's not. I think that's what they'd have to prove, and I think that would probably be challenging.
Yeah, I think it would definitely be challenging, especially considering like um the the series relationship with Nintendo, right? I guess they're on like PC and mobile too, so maybe like that starts to like muddy the waters a little bit there, but like they're just so clearly associated with Nintendo that like to see something that even looks like Pokemon but is on like Xbox, you're like, "Oh, this is obviously a different thing."
Right, right. Yeah. Also, it doesn't really sound like they're going super hard into it, so
It does not. Yeah.
who knows if anything will come of it. Maddie Makes Games is celebrating the 6-year anniversary of the release of Celeste with a new bite-sized 3D platformer called Celeste 64 Fragments of the Mountain. Currently only available on itch.io, but would be cool to see it release on other platforms. I looked this up. So Celeste is like an indie platformer that released in 2017, 2018, maybe.
Yeah, one of those two, yeah.
That I really liked a lot and definitely
Great game.
put my platforming skills to the challenge. This seems like a full like rendering of it in this kind of like Mario 64 aesthetic, but I don't know if it's just a slice.
Yeah, well, it's tough because the game, as of recording, I think released like 4 or 5 hours ago, like really, really recently. Um, and yeah, I mean, is obviously releasing on itch.io is like the most sort of direct way that you can release a game without like going through a bunch of different red tape. Um, but yeah, I'll be excited to like get more impressions of the game in the days and weeks to come because like the original Celeste is like a genuinely special game, both in terms of like the platforming challenges that it presents and like the way it sort of like tackles story and the story that it tells within it. I think is all really good. Yeah, I would love to get into Celeste 64 Fragments of the Mountain someday.
There have been rumors that a Zelda themed land or ride would be coming to Universal theme parks, specifically Islands of Adventure in Florida, for a couple of years now. There's a section
Before
there.
we
Go
get into
ahead, go
that,
ahead.
just Islands of Adventure in Orlando. That's the new Universal park.
No, so there was Universal Studios Florida that opened in like 93 or something like that. And then in 1999 they opened up a second theme park called Islands of Adventure. And so it's been there for a
Oh,
number
okay.
of years. And then now they're building a third theme park called Epic Universe. And so Epic Universe is going to have the Super Nintendo world that we see in Japan, with the Mario stuff, and then the Donkey Kong expansion that's coming to Osaka later this year.
Are they supposed to have the Yoshi Dark Ride as well?
They are, yeah. Uh-huh. And then but so there's a land in Islands of Adventure called Lost Continent that they just recently closed the last ride that was in that section. So now there's like maybe a restaurant, but like there was a stunt show that closed a number of years ago. They just closed the last attraction. And so there's been rumors for a number of years that this is the area that's earmarked for Zelda. If that eventually comes to Universal theme parks. And those rumors kind of like heated up this week because Zelda series producer AJ Aonuma was spotted in an Instagram video posted by Universal Studios Orlando that featured footage from the construction site of Epic Universe. So it's him in just like a split second. It's him and Miyamoto looking at something, Um, and the video has since been like edited to remove that moment where he's in it. And
Amazing.
I don't think that the rumors are that it's coming to Epic Universe. So, but maybe he was down there for other stuff because that's where Universal Creative is headquartered, is in Orlando. So maybe he was down there for other stuff and then took a tour with Miyamoto to see Super Nintendo World at Epic Universe that's under construction.
That's all very cool. What else is at Epic Universe, or
So
will be at Epic
yeah,
Universe?
so it's going to open next summer, and they haven't officially announced, but the lands that everybody are expecting are the Super Nintendo World, a Universal Monsters land called Dark Universe, a
hold on.
sticking
So
with the
even
branding,
sticking with the branding.
Yep,
Man, I watched the first like hour of that Mummy movie the other night.
it's on
And
Hulu now. They're like
yeah,
promoting it all the time.
yeah, that's where I watched it. And it is bad and like a total waste of Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I think they it's like, what else do we call this area that has all these monsters?
Sure.
I guess we call it Dark Universe. But then it's supposed to have like another wizarding world, like Harry Potter area that's themed to Paris from the like more recent movies. And then it's supposed to
Ooh.
have a How to Train Your Dragon land. So those
I mean,
are
I guess if you're already casting good money after bad in the Dark Universe, you may as well also chase some of that Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them money.
well, the Dark Universe rides sound, again, it's all rumors. They haven't announced anything. Like they're going to be pretty cool. And I don't think it's actually themed to the like I don't think a Tom Cruise walk around is going to show up or anything like that.
Sure, or like a Russell Crowe, Dr.
Yeah,
Jekyll.
that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, what could have been? What could have been?
He's in that movie. Like,
Oh, is he? They like
yeah,
seeded. They seeded it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
amazing. Finally, the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences has announced that famed Nintendo composer Koji Kondo will be inducted into its Hall of Fame at the 27th annual DICE Awards on Thursday, February 15th. Kondo is quoted in the press release saying, quote, I am deeply thankful for being selected by DICE for this important award. It is a true honor to be recognized in this way, and I am extremely humbled. Thanks to the help from the many people surrounding me and the support from our customers and fans, I was fortunate enough to be involved in game music development for decades. I am grateful for everyone who helped and supported me. I will continue my efforts in the music and sound aspects of development to hopefully make everyone's game experience more enjoyable in the years to come.
I love any like from the heart or off the cuff speech translated from Japanese, because we always get turns of phrase like I will continue my efforts in the music and sound aspects of development. It's it's just so wonderfully clumsy.
Yeah. Yep. And also very sincere.
Yes, very very sincere. And you know, like are there other video game composers in the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences like Hall of Fame? Like,
Yeah. Do you know what's kind of crazy is there is. He was not the first one, which feels like a
what
no-brainer.
what is going on?
Yeah. Yep.
Who else would be? Who's do you have it right there or not?
Let me see if I
Yeah,
can pull it up.
because like Koji Kondo, like the Mario theme is like that's what you think of when you think of like primordial video game music.
Uh-huh.
Um, did it win our best Nintendo music contest? No. Do we all feel good about that? No.
But a Koji Kondo theme did win.
That's true.
Okay, so maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't have an extensive list, but the list that I do see does not include any composers. So
Okay.
maybe he's the first?
Maybe he's the first. I feel better now. He's the godfather of it. Like, I mean, you know, it's everything stems from everything music in game stems from him.
Totally.
All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. That is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, you should be in our Discord if you are not already there. Send me an email, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and we will send you an invitation. Anthony DeLuca made our logo, which, by the way, I just wanted to like shout out on the mic here that Anthony has also been doing the artwork for the mini series that we're doing on Patreon, and the one for NCS Arcade is real sharp, looking real good. Head on over to the Patreon and check that out. It's just a very good looking little logo there for us.
Completely agree. Knocked it out of the park.
Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying thank you for listening.